David, thank you for joining us.
Good to see you again, Michael.
So listen, as we said, you have new numbers going into this campaign, and we talked about the top numbers, but you've also essentially talked about leaders' impressions and looked into each leader and what Canadians are saying about them. So let's go through that one by one, beginning with Mark Carney. In terms of positive, negative impressions, what are you finding?
Well, Mark Carney will start this campaign in the enviable position of being the most popular leader in the country. In terms of net favorable, he's got a plus 12. 40% have a positive view of him, 28 negative. That's a complete reversal of how people felt about Justin Trudeau, and leaves Mark Carney in a really solid place. When we dig a little deeper and we ask people like, okay, so what do you know about him? What do you think about him? Far more people see him as strong, as a strong leader, as being smart. And he's competitive with the other leaders on other things like empathy. He understands me. He's kind. He's friendly. And so his strengths are really this idea that people see him as competent. They see him as tough. And in the environment we're in, those are all assets to any political leader in this campaign.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's Mark Carney. Talk to us a bit more now of the Conservative leader. What are his positive, negative numbers, and what are Canadians saying about Pierre Poilievre to actually arrive to that kind of conclusion?
Yeah, well, Poilievre finds himself at a moment where his negatives are going up, actually. So today, 37% of Canadians have a positive view of Mr. Poilievre compared to 45 negative. Now, -8 isn't bad. Those are still fairly good numbers for any politician today, but they're up over the last number of weeks. And when we dig into his views, he does okay on strong leader. But there's a little bit of untrustworthiness. More people are likely to say they don't really trust him. Some see him as fake. There's a little bit of friction, I think, in people's perceptions of him, but he's still in a solid position. And one of the interesting facts about Mr. Poilievre in this election is that I think this is one of maybe the only elections I can think of in which the leader of the opposition Canadians are more familiar with him or her than with the prime minister. And so he starts this campaign more well-defined and in a place that not a lot of opposition leaders find themselves in, and Canadians know who Mr. Poilievre is. So that's harder to change opinions, but he's done the work to introduce himself to most of the country.
And what about Jagmeet Singh and the NDP? What's being said about the NDP leader?
Well, Mr. Singh finds himself in the probably worst position of the three. He started the 2021 campaign with the more favorable view. Today, it's the opposite. So 28% of Canadians have a positive view of Mr. Singh compared to 41 negative. That -13 is the worst of the three leaders. So Mr. Singh, like the NDP overhaul, I think is starting this campaign in a really difficult position. Fewer accessible voters, the least popular of the leaders, and he's also well known. So this is his third national campaign. Harder to change people's minds and impressions of you when they've seen you for this long. So a tough start. I think a tough starting place for Mr. Singh. Doesn't mean that's where it's going to end, but it isn't the most positive place you want to start when you're trailing so far behind the other two parties.
And in such a short election campaign time period. So walk us through that. We had a little bit of Carney and Poilievre and Singh. So if you were to look at those three party leaders, what kind of challenge does that set up for them? What do they, each one, need to do in the course of this campaign?
Well, I think the first thing they need to do in these first few days is set what the ballot question is going to be. What are you asking voters to judge on, right? And I think in the case of Mark Carney, he comes in to politics, frankly, at probably the perfect moment for somebody with his experience and his expertise. I think Canadians, a growing number of Canadians, are looking for somebody who can manage this crisis, who can get the country through it. They're looking, I think, increasingly for calm and competent. On the other hand, there's still this deep desire for change that exists. Our survey showed that. And so for Mr. Singh and Mr. Poilievre, there is still an audience who want to hear what they would do differently. And you heard it even, Mr. Poilievre in the last few days. You see some Conservative ads. They're trying to make the case that change is what the country needs. That's what they're going to have to do in these first opening days. Because if it's about Trump, if it's about who can guide the country forward, so far, the research suggests Mr. Carney has the upper hand right now.
Okay, so those are the three more traditional parties. What can we say about the Bloc Québécois and the Green leaders at this point?
So Elizabeth May, the Green Party leader, is the veteran, in this campaign, having done more campaigns than any of the others. Despite that, there's still a lot of Canadians don't know her that well. Her positives are not very high; they're more negative than positive, and so she's going to have a really, I think, challenging time with her co-leader to get some attention. Despite the fact that she's a familiar face for many people, they just still don't know her very well. Mr. Blanchette is still popular in Quebec. He has that connection. He's going to be the leader who's going to best be able to communicate, particularly to Francophone Quebecers. His challenge is relevance now, right? Where we're talking about big national issues, we're talking about external threats to Canada in the form of Donald Trump. Mr. Blanchette's going to need to figure out, I think, not how he personally connects with Quebecers, because they know him really well. This will be his third campaign, but it's about why should they vote Bloc and not for the other parties as we look at national issues as opposed to what might be in the best interest of Quebec. So, the Greens and Mr. Blanchette and to some extent Max Bernier, the leader of the People's Party, are all going to play a role in this election in hoping that people don't consolidate around those two main parties.
Okay, well, we are beginning the race. We are watching closely. David Coletto, thank you for that. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Michael. Take care.